fire. They were busting shit. They were breaking things. They were setting buildings on fire. They were looting. We were watching it, bro. We watched it all happen.
Lost control.
And this idea that you have that that No King's Day was supposed to actually be a peaceful day of protest, when you watch all of their calls and how they planned this out meticulously for how, if you get arrested, what type of bail funds you can use, this type of thing, if you're there after hours. They obviously were trying to pivot it to something popping off there in the evenings. It was so obvious to everybody watching it.
Andrew Wilson destroys this woke supporter for denying the reality about the No Kings protest in this heated debate, as Andrew Wilson sets the record straight about the violence from the far left that this soy boy tries to blame on Donald Trump, but Andrew simply isn't having it. Let's get in.
If it's the case that you have a governor who's refusing to enforce the laws which are inside of his state, and he's putting people at the mercy of mobs, which he was doing, we watched it live, even if it's the case that Trump did grant that to himself and was able to suppress this, and then later it was struck down as being something which was unconstitutional, it still seems like he did a good thing.
So why would you say that Newsom isn't enforcing the law? And it's specifically not Newsom. I think it would be Karen.
Because I was watching as hundreds of donut eaters were standing around as people were tearing a city to pieces. That's why. And it was very obvious that they were given stand down orders, because otherwise they would have been in there clubbing and drubbing these fuckers half to death and dragging them to fucking jail, which they started doing the second that the Marine Corps got there. So, and I watched all of it happen live. I watched all of it unfold live. So did the thousands and thousands of people right now who are watching this live. They watched it with me. It was very clear they had stand down orders. And so, no, I think that that's a dereliction of duty by the California governor and by the mayor of Los Angeles. And if I were the executive and I thought that I had the power to send in the troops or federalize the troops in order to quell that, I would have fucking done it too. And I think that you guys, that's a good thing.
So you're saying the Marines quelled the protests?
Yes, I am saying that. Yes.
100%. How many? Do you know when? Do you know when?
Like, do you have an example of like?
Yeah. So here's what happened. So as you watch the riots unfold, before there was any nationalized troops which were there, they basically allowed them to burn certain square blocks and loot them and do their rioting stuff and this type of thing. The second the military got there, you saw the protesters kind of come out and try to act like they were going to come out in force, right? But these guardsmen and Marines were having none of that. They were beating the shit out of these guys in public. They had no fucks at all to give about it. None. Zero. And when we got to their famous day of rage, the day it was all supposed to pop off, you should have seen all the content creators who were on camera saying, oh man, today's the day. It's all going to pop off now. And they didn't do shit because they would have got their asses whooped. They would have got their asses whooped, and they knew they would have gotten their asses whooped. And they all went home, and nothing happened. It fizzled out, completely fizzled out.
Let me know down below if you agree with Andrew Wilson in using the National Guard to quell these quote-unquote protests. But at that point, you know, when you're governor, when you're mayor, when no one's trying to actually stop anybody from, say, burning anything down, like, what are you left with? And we've seen what the woke left is willing to do ever since, 2020, the Black Lives Matter riots, everything that they were simply allowed to do, $2 billion worth of damages. I mean, you even had Democrat representatives marching with them when all of this was going on. So we know how they care about stopping riots and violence. So what other option do you really have? Either someone steps in and stops it, or obviously no one there will. But hit that like button and notification bell if you're enjoying the video. And if you want to help support the channel, check out the link in the description and let's get back in.
Wrong. So he's patently wrong. So I'll present. No, I've got some actual facts here because I know Andrew didn't prepare for this. June 6th, early anti-ICE protests amounted to about 1,000 people. June 7th, the 9th, and the 10th, that's when the National Guard and Marines were deployed. It was around that time that we also saw, because again, it was only like a day later, that we saw the rocks being thrown from the freeway and things of that nature. But it was after 4 days later that we saw over 30,000 protesters. It amplified for No King's Day. That was a Saturday. So again, the idea that the Marines quelled all the protests and they all went home. There was 30,000 people that attended on June 14th. You're patently wrong on this, Andrew.
Yeah, so let's go through it. No King's Day was pre-planned weeks in advance, by the way. Weeks in advance. We were going into the calls. We were going into the organizers' calls live. You can literally see live footage.
Did it quell them or no?
Calm down.
Did it quell them or no?
I'm explaining the entirety of the timeline.
Go ahead.
Jake went in live to one of these calls, in fact, as the organizers were planning this in real time, what they were going to do, what they weren't going to do. And this was an NGO planned and funded thing that was going to happen. The fact that you say, 30,000 people turned out, that's true. That was expected. What was not expected is that the 30,000 people would go home at the stroke of 8 p.m. and wouldn't burn the fucking city down. That was because the Marine Corps was there. It was going to happen.
No, not because you said 8 p.m.
Oh yeah, it was going to happen with that one.
8 p.m. Yeah, they went home around 8 p.m. This was widely known amongst protesters that at 8 p.m., usually those people who are out afterwards are the troublemakers. Those are the ones who should not be there. So typically, yes, people go home at 8 p.m. on a Saturday because they have family, not because of Marines, because that's how all protests happen. Literally all protests.
Before they got there, before the guard got there, what was going on? They were tearing that city to pieces at night. They were starting it on fire. They were busting shit. They were breaking things. They were setting buildings on fire. They were looting. We were watching it, bro. We watched it all happen.
Lost control.
This idea that you have that no King's Day was supposed to actually be a peaceful day of protest, when you watch all of their calls and how they planned this out meticulously for how, if you get arrested, what type of bail funds you can use, this type of thing, if you're there after hours, they obviously were trying to pivot it to something popping off there in the evenings. It was so obvious to everybody watching it. Of course, not you, though. You were giving all of these people who were breaking, rioting, and looting the benefit of the doubt that, oh, no, they were just after No King's Day. That was just all going to stop, though. Yeah.
So again, when we look at the, I want to look at the original claim that Andrew made that after the Marines came in, that they went away. They didn't. There was 30,000 people that attended. So again, his claim was just patently wrong.
No, the claim that I made was that let's
change the claim. Go ahead.
Yeah. So after the military got there, you did see them ramp up. They said that they were going to do that. They also said that they were going to claim that the newfound violence in the city was that they were going to pin it on the fact that the military was being deployed. And that was what was actually causing the unrest. But the unrest was there long before any military ever got there. They were breaking shit, damaging property,
not long before a day,
setting stuff on fire. They were already doing that shit. So the thing is
one day before they got deployed.
Yeah, all that happened here is that they were going to try to make a message. They were going to try to send a message with their political unrest against the military. Found out they weren't going to fuck around, find out. Once they figured that
30,000 people came out in droves.
You actually could see.
Yeah, 30,000 people came out, but
every single day that these guys were getting their asses whooped, the next day, way less of them were out at night. And then the next day after that, less of them were out at night.
Do more people come out for protests during the weekend or during the weekday? Do more people come out for protests during the weekend or the weekday?
Obviously on the weekend.
Oh, okay. So that's exactly what happened. They came out during the weekend.
Did anybody dispute that there was going to be more people there on No King's Day? No. In fact, I told you that was the entire plan. The entire plan was to have it accumulate on this day. It's just that the plan wasn't that they all went home afterwards because they didn't want their asses whooped and to get thrown into jail. That was not part of their plan.
Gotcha.
Andrew Wilson is 100% correct in the idea that this woke supporter is just willingly ignorant about the idea that these protests were ever going to supposed to be peaceful in the first place. These people have been outing themselves on, live streams, on YouTube, all over on social media. They put it out openly. You can find it. And this was all pre-planned. We know that now. And this continues and continues. And this is the violence and the insanity of the woke left bursting because they've got nowhere else to go. And every time they create a scenario and then they just blame the right. They blame the right. They blame the right. They're always victims. Nothing's ever their fault. They're never starting anything. They're always peaceful. They're always tolerant. And it's always somebody else's fault. But no one that I know and no one I think seriously is going to believe that this was going to end up a peaceful protest. And even as this guy even claimed, it only started for a day. As if only one day, what was already one day too much. If you're already watching people burn stuff down for a whole day, and then you watch police do literally nothing to stop it, okay, should you continue to let it go on into day 2? Or maybe you should do something then on that day. So he's not even denying the violence that precipitated the military's arrival to begin with, and then they acted to protect the city when the woke left wouldn't. But thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you thought about what Andrew Wilson had to say, completely destroying this woke supporter in this debate. Like, subscribe, take care, and I will see you on the next one.